Hey Gab, Facebook, YouTube, it is Kevin Newsom coming to you from Houston, Texas, talking today very briefly about the insanity that is the state of California. Now, as many of you have already guessed, California has gone completely insane. I know many of you already know that, but what I'm going to talk about today will solidify that viewpoint for millions of people. So about a week ago, California announced that starting January 1st, a person can willfully, intentionally, and purposefully transmit HIV to another person and only receive 6 months of county jail time. Now, this penalty was reduced from a felony, which would have given someone 3 to 8 years for committing that crime. The reason that the California legislature and governor gave for passing this insane bill was that this would make it more likely for Californians to get HIV tests. So what was once a felony, which was a willful transmission of the HIV virus through a sex act or through a blood donation, starting January 1st is now just a misdemeanor with 6 months jail time. Now, the listed reason for this bill passing was that now that this crime of transmitting HIV to other people intentionally has been reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor, more people are going to get tested for HIV now. Totally insane, totally bizarre, and totally irresponsible. What this bill is doing, essentially, is rewarding bad actors and saying, you know what, if you go into a blood bank and donate blood knowing that you have HIV, the most that's going to happen to you is 6 months of jail time, at most. If you have sex with another person or other people, and you know you have HIV, and you know you're likely going to give HIV to these people, the most time you're going to get is 6 months in the county jail. I can't fathom the degree of irresponsibility that this bill leads to. Now, normally I would say that essentially decriminalizing the willful spread of HIV is insane enough. Just taking that by itself is totally nuts, and I would make a video just about that. But this HIV bill came on the heels of something just as incredible a few weeks back. California passed another law that stated that if you're in a nursing facility and you call someone by the wrong pronoun, you can be sentenced to up to 1 year in a county jail. I'm going to say that again as well. If you're working in a nursing facility in the state of California and you call someone by the wrong pronoun, you can be sentenced to up to 1 year in the county jail. You combine these two laws together, and the state of California is literally saying hurting somebody's feelings and calling them by the wrong pronoun is twice as bad as giving someone HIV. It is totally and completely insane. I don't know what to say anymore at this point. This is not just the land of fruits and nuts anymore. This is willful and reckless irresponsibility on the part of California lawmakers. Now, the legislator in California that came up with this cockamamie HIV bill has stated, well, HIV is so much more easily treated now. It's way different than it used to be in the 80s and 90s, and you can get treatment and live a normal life now. And while that's certainly true that treatment is much better and that they have had much success in combating HIV levels in the bloodstream, the cost of HIV treatment over a lifetime is almost $400,000. So even though this treatment is better, and even though great strides have been made, it is not something that is easy to handle. It's not something that anyone with a good amount of common sense would want to acquire. And so you may be asking yourself, Kevin, what is going on? Why would anyone in their right mind pass these kinds of laws? Why would anyone say that HIV is no different than gonorrhea or syphilis or chlamydia? Why would anyone say that hurting people's feelings is worse than willfully giving someone HIV? Here's why. The folks in California are pressing an ideology over reality. They are pushing their ideology over the safety of their own citizens. That ideology is one of absolute equality, that everything and everyone is equal to everything else. That means people, that means cultures, that means lifestyles. Now this means diseases. Now they're literally saying HIV and AIDS is the same as gonorrhea or chlamydia. The idea is that there are no differences, everybody's the same, and if you make value judgments saying one thing or culture or idea is better or worse than another, you are a wicked and evil person. So this ideology of absolute equality has now overridden common sense and scientific reasoning in the state of California. Now they're literally saying to you, it is worse to hurt someone's feelings than to give someone HIV. It's totally crazy. It's totally out of control. Now, if the folks in the California legislature were actually serious about reducing the number of HIV cases in California, as well as increasing the amount of people getting HIV testing, there is a much simpler, much saner solution they could subscribe to, and I'll display that right now. So the solution that I've arrived at is really a combination of four things. Number one, make HIV tests tax deductible. Allow a person 3 of these tests per year with a deduction of $100 per test. Now they would go to the clinic or to their doctor and pay for the tests as they normally do, either out of pocket or through insurance if that's covered. But each test would be a $100 deduction off of their state taxes. Number two, require all physical examinations to include an HIV test. You know, whenever someone has to get a job these days, it's not uncommon for them to have to undergo a physical exam. A lot of people go through physical exams on a yearly basis. Some do it for insurance purposes. Some people just want to know how they're doing health-wise. So the state of California can easily require that all physical exams come with a mandatory HIV test. I would also make intentional transmission of HIV a felony. Now that would require some legwork by the district attorney's office. It would require investigations and claims that people willingly transmitted the disease. But if it could be proven that someone willfully transmitted HIV to another person through sex or through blood donation, they need to be held accountable, and that needs to be a felony. This is a serious matter. It is not like chlamydia. This is a very serious disease still, so we need to treat it as such. Finally, I would promote traditional lifestyles. I would promote the traditional lifestyle of love and marriage, of monogamy. This is something, obviously, that's not popular in California amongst many people, but it's scientifically proven that the traditional lifestyles result in less disease, especially sexually transmitted diseases, in any given population. Doesn't mean you discriminate against people who choose not to live these traditional lifestyles. It does mean, however, that you do promote a traditional lifestyle. So there you have it, folks. It's a very common sense solution. It's a great way to reduce the numbers of HIV patients while also increasing the amount of people who feel comfortable getting HIV testing. Unfortunately, California will never subscribe to common sense. They are pushing their ideology above common sense. They are putting their faith in their own belief system over the safety of the residents of California. At this point, I don't know what else to say. California has stopped listening to reason. They actually stopped a long time ago, but this manifestation of insanity is now directly putting a lot of people in the crosshairs of a very serious disease. So at this point in time, the only real recommendation I can make to the people still in California is get out. Leave now. Because the government there is not getting any better. They're getting much worse, and they're not putting your interest first. They're not putting your lives and your health and your well-being first. They're putting their own belief systems ahead of you. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a happy ending for the state of California. And now seemingly they're opening the floodgates for bad actors to willfully transmit HIV to people, innocent people, and only face up to 6 months of jail time for it. So my recommendation for Californians, if you are God-fearing people, if you're just logical, sane people, is get the heck out of there as soon as possible. This is Kevin Newsom. I hope you are doing okay whenever and wherever you're at. God bless you. I'll talk to you next time.